Welcome, finally, to the launch event of the Sao Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health, organized by the Planetary Health Alliance and the University of Sao Paulo. My name is Jeremy Pivor, and I am the Senior Program Coordinator at the Planetary Health Alliance, as well as lead organizer and principal editor of the Sao Paulo Declaration. I am also co-author of the now published Lancet letter that introduces the declaration. We have a fantastic program today, including amazing guest speakers, a wonderful feature of our organization's signatories, and inspiring case stories from organizations doing planetary health work on the ground. In the chat, you will have received a social media toolkit to share this launch among your communities around the world. Please use the hashtags SPD, Planetary Health, and Sao Paulo Declaration. Today's event is co-sponsored by United Nations Development Program, UNDP. Through their SparkBlue platform, UNDP supported the global consultation of over 300 people from more than 70 countries who contributed recommendations to the declaration. This truly makes this declaration a global event. It is my pleasure to now introduce my co-MC for today, Mandeep Dhaliwal. She is the director of UNDP's HIV Health and Development Group in the UNDP Bureau of Policy and Program Support, steering committee member of the Planetary Health Alliance, and contributor to the Sao Paulo Declaration. Without her support, this declaration would not have been possible. Welcome, Mandeep.
Thank you, Jeremy, for the very generous introduction, dear colleagues and friends. UNDP works with countries to expand people's choices for a fairer, sustainable future, to build a world envisioned by the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development with people and planet in balance. We are incredibly proud to have supported the global consultation for the Sao Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health. So without much further ado, please let's get on with the launch. It is my great pleasure to start off this event, and I have the honor to introduce Dr. Sam Myers, the Director of Planetary Health Alliance and Principal Research Scientist at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health and lead author of the Lancet letter introducing the declaration. Sam is an inspiration to so many of us. And another inspiring comrade also joining us is Dr. Antonio Saravia, professor of the University of Sao Paulo, organizer of the 2021 Planetary Health annual meeting that generated this declaration and the co-author of the Lancet letter. Sam and Antonio, over to you.
Thank you, Mandeep and Jeremy. Welcome, everybody. So glad you could be with us. Planetary health is an enormously interdisciplinary field and growing social movement forged in urgency to address the global health threats we are facing as a result of our own disruption and degradation of our planet's natural systems. Planetary health science is teaching us that our degradation of nature, not just climate change, but also biodiversity loss, resource scarcity, and pollution of air, water, and soil at a global scale, have become the dominant threat to our own health and well-being. We cannot thrive while nature's life support systems are crumbling under the weight of our own activities. This insight is changing the nature of global discourse. Through the lens of planetary health, we can see that what traditionally have been a series of discrete conversations about particular environmental problems, climate change, biodiversity loss, our oceans, global pollution, are in fact a single conversation about social justice and human survival. The Sao Paulo Declaration emphasizes that there is an enormous amount we can do to change course by embracing deep, rapid structural shifts in how we live that will reduce our ecological footprint and help us to restore and regenerate the natural systems that we depend upon. If we get it right, our grandchildren could inherit a truly beautiful future. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here as well. Thank you, Sam, for your inspiring words. The São Paulo Declaration states that humans must make transformational shifts now in how we live in order to optimize the health and well-being of all people and the planet we depend on. These rapid and deep structural changes across society, what is increasingly referred to as the Great Transition, must include how we produce and consume food, energy, and manufactured goods, how we construct and live in our cities, how we consider and measure growth, progress, and development, and govern ourselves. It will also require rethinking our values and relationship within nature. To achieve these shifts, the São Paulo Declaration guides people across society with suggested concrete actions for 19 stakeholder groups that support a more just and regenerative post-pandemic world. Since we first thought of a declaration in 2019, during the Planetary Health annual meeting at Stanford, the global situation became much worse. Extreme climate events in different parts of the world and the COVID-19 pandemic. Millions of people have been affected worldwide, and the timing for a declaration became even more urgent. The writing of the declaration followed a process designed to be very inclusive and thus resonate the voice of the global planetary health community. A draft text was developed by planetary health experts and submitted to an open consultation process during the 2021 Planetary Health Annual Meeting in São Paulo last April, with the support of UNDP's Spark Blue platform. Consolidating all the inputs to the document took a lot of effort, but we are very happy with the result. Over 260 organizations from 47 countries, representing more than 19 sectors across society, have already endorsed the document, and the numbers will increase now that the declaration is public. Those will be important partners for the next steps. The declaration encourages everyone to play a role and clearly lays out instructions for how each person and group can contribute to the Great Transition. It is important to say that the declaration is also available in Portuguese, Spanish, French, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian on the Planetary Health Alliance website. We know what needs to change to safeguard the health of the planet and people for future generations. The São Paulo Declaration urges us to act now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam and Antonio, for your dedication to planetary health and also for just saying why we're here today. And I'm now delighted to start our guest speaker presentations and introduce remarks from our first guest speaker, Hindu Amaru Ibrahim. She is the president of the Association of Indigenous Women and Peoples of Chad, Planetary Health Alliance Advisory Board member, and senior fellow at Conservation International.
Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you today, even virtually. As an Indigenous woman, I welcome this important initiative of planetary health. You all know that Indigenous peoples are among the first to witness the impact of climate change and biodiversity extinction in our ecosystem. We watch the forest burn, the desert move and destroy our savannas, the ice cap melt. And for us, it is not only nature that is under threat. Forests, savannas, even the ice cap are not just an ecosystem you need to protect. No, those ecosystems are our cities, our hometowns. They are our supermarket where we find our food. They are our pharmacy where we find our traditional medicine. And when during this pandemic, people discovered that it was essential to protect nature, to protect our health, they just started discovering what our Indigenous grandmothers were teaching us when we were kids. If you protect Mother Earth, she will protect you back. If you heal nature, she will heal you back. Even if we represent only 5% of the world's population, we contribute to protect 80% of the world's biodiversity. We contribute with our Indigenous people's traditional knowledge to restore ecosystems that are destroyed. We also know how to prevent the transmission of animal-borne disease and contribute to global health. For instance, in my community, the nomadic pastoralists in the Sahel, we know that where are certain areas we need to avoid with our cattle at certain period of the year to avoid such contamination. We know this for generations, but no one wanted to listen to us. Today, we are all gathered for the launch of the Sao Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health. This is a great initiative that calls us to a fundamental shift in how we live on Earth, what we are calling the Great Transition. In this transition, you will need a guide, and Indigenous peoples are ready to help. We are ready to share our unique relationship with nature to help you to build a new relationship with nature. But let us be clear. What Indigenous peoples are offering to you, it is not coming back to the past. It is an invitation to look at our common future. A future where companies, local and national government, all communities relearn to work in cooperation with nature rather than in a competition. A future with no land grabbing, with full respect of human rights. A future where we find job, food, medicine in well-functioning and sustainable ecosystems. This future needs to start today and to be supported by all of you, because all together we can make a difference. We can ask for bold decision during COP26 and COP15, but we can also act, because for too long we have been waiting for government to take action with poor result. So we can take the wheel, sit in the driver's seat, and make this great transition a reality in our communities right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Hindu, for your wonderful remarks. I would now like to introduce a message from Paul Pullman, the former CEO of Unilever. Paul is an influencer, business leader, campaigner, and co-author of the recently released book, Net Positive: How Courageous Companies Thrive by Giving More Than They Take. Over to you, Paul.
The Planetary Health Alliance and the University of Sao Paulo for inviting me to speak at this launch of the Sao Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health. Corporate leaders and businesses can no longer sit on the sidelines as the planetary health crisis becomes increasingly urgent. The ongoing degradation of our planet's natural systems is a clear and present danger to the health of all people everywhere. We know we cannot have healthy people on an unhealthy planet. The sustainability of the economy and the long-term profit of business depends on the well-being of society and nature. Business have a crucially important role to play in catalyzing this great transition, a deep, rapid, structural shift in how we live that optimizes the health and well-being of the people and the planet. The release of the Sao Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health in conjunction with the COP15 and COP26 meetings represents an important milestone for the business community to align their activities with the great transition. And by doing so, help safeguard a livable future for humanity and the rest of life on Earth. It's not enough to simply do less harm. Businesses need to rethink their models so that they are actively doing good, helping to regenerate the planet's natural systems, to protect healthy people and a stable global society within which to do business. I discussed this imperative in my new book with Andrew Winston, titled Net Positive: How Courageous Companies Thrive by Giving More Than They Take. The Sao Paulo Declaration recommends investments and corporate principles must correspond to planetary health values and strategies that decrease greenhouse gas emissions, increase biodiversity, reduce soil, air, and water pollution, and yes, improve health equity. Companies must also begin investing in and implementing plans for net zero, nature positive businesses immediately. Companies should also align on advocacy for government policies and incentives that advance planetary health. Every person in every place, from every calling, has a role to play in safeguarding the health of the planet and the health of people for future generations to come. As a moral and practical imperative, business leaders should align themselves with the São Paulo Declaration and commit to safeguard a healthy, equitable future for humanity and protect all life on Earth. This is the decade of action, and it needs the best of all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul, for those outstanding insights. I'm now delighted to introduce Dr. Nicole de Paulo. She is the founder and executive director of the Women Leaders for Planetary Health, a social enterprise bridging the gaps between the health and environmental sectors through gender-just solutions. Nicole is also part of the organizing team and a contributor to the Sao Paulo Declaration. Welcome, Nicole.
Hello, everyone. What a pleasure to be here. This launch feels very special to me. I'm speaking from my hometown, São Paulo, and it's the first time that I can see my family since this pandemic has started. And I'm one of the lucky ones. I did not lose any relatives or friends, but Brazil lost an entire generation of Indigenous leaders to COVID-19. And the avoidable deaths of the few remaining Indigenous elders mean that incalculable loss of culture and knowledge, as we were just hearing also from Hindu. But after months of collective grief, I think it's really extraordinary to be here in a spirit of celebration. And I want to applaud you for deciding to transform this human-made climate and biodiversity crisis, now impacting our health, into an opportunity to save lives. I have 3 quick highlights that I want to share with us today. So our current planetary emergency is really a very unfair crisis. And if we remember that in May 2021, the World Health Organization challenged the world to vaccinate at least 10% of the population of every country by the end of September. We're now in October, but 56 countries, unfortunately, were not able to make it, not because of their faults necessarily. And half of those have only vaccinated 2%. This is really a reality that it's unacceptable. And the São Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health emphasizes that no one is safe until everyone is safe, and that nature is the real vaccine against future pandemics. And vaccine equity is really about trust, and trust, to me, is a very valuable coin in the planetary health market that we should not underestimate. My second point is about money. For planetary health to become a reality on the ground, we need to demand smarter budgets. It's imperative to use public resources for what really matters. And we know that the world is in its make or break decade, and mainly because of the climate crisis and all this planetary emergency. But fossil fuels, for example, the subsidies to fossil fuels mean that taxpayers are helping to create more profits for oil and gas companies. And we are also supporting pollution. This devastates our health and our climate. I believe the self-interest is an anachronistic way to live our lives in the 21st century. Third, there is a promising solution to mainstream planetary health, and its diverse leadership. Recently, a total of 191 leaders addressed the UN General Assembly. However, 173 men spoke, but only 18 women. And from consumption habits to responsive actions, research shows that women are the greener gender, I was reading this week. And they have a lower carbon footprint due to more sustainable consumption patterns. And they're also a backbone of our caring economy. We all learned how the caring economy during this pandemic was so important. But women are not victims, and they were drivers. They are really the drivers of positive change for planetary health. They can help us to accelerate the implementation of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So there won't be planetary health if acute gender disparity continues. Finally, you're here today because you understand the true value of nature for human well-being. And cross-boundary collaboration is what we need. So my final point is, moving forward, is I would invite all of us to break institutional and also mental silos. And I think this is also a topic that I'm passionate, and an upcoming book that I'm writing now, it's the Breaking the Silos for Planetary Health. And Despite this current challenge that we're seeing in my country, I believe Brazil has an enormous potential to be on the right side of the planetary health history. And our work at the University of São Paulo with a truly multidisciplinary team is a proof of courageous thinkers trying to make a difference in the most biologically diverse country in the world. It was an honor to be part of the core team that developed and coordinated this process. And I thank the Planetary Health Alliance, the University of São Paulo, and the UNDP for this generous collaboration and leadership. And thank you all for joining us today. Obrigada.
Obrigada, Nicole. Thank you for your contribution and your dedication to planetary health. It's my pleasure now to introduce a message from Dr. Donald Lee, President of the World Organization of Family Doctors, which represents more than 500,000 family doctors around the world.
I'm proud to be speaking at this launch as President of the World Organization of Family Doctors, or WONCA as we are known. In 2019, the executive of the World Organization of Family Doctors endorsed a statement which had been prepared by our working party on the environment to declare a climate emergency. In our statement, we alerted people, if they should still need to be alerted, to the threat posed by the climate crisis, not just to the health of our populations, but to the very existence of the environment in which our populations live and work. As family doctors around the world, we recognize the need to get fully involved in policy advocacy with local and national governments. As family doctors, we understand how working collaboratively can achieve more than the anticipated outcome. We see this every day in our practices as we work collaboratively with our patients in setting a treatment path, in working with our secondary care clinical colleagues in referrals back and forth between primary and secondary care. So we know about the benefits of collaboration. As family doctors, we also recognize that we will be amongst the first to feel the increased workload caused by the climate emergency as people's health is challenged. As the Sao Paulo statement says, the planetary health science is clear. We can no longer safeguard human health unless we change course. We acknowledge one of the central tenets of the Sao Paulo Declaration, which states that every person in every place, from every calling, has a role to play in safeguarding the health of the planet and people for future generations. We have to work more effectively to support our patients to make the shift in their own lives towards optimizing the health and well-being of themselves and the planet. We recognize that the changes required are not achievable in the short term, but we know they are achievable. So instead of them being aspirations, we need to move towards practical achievement of goals. We need to operationalize rather than plan for the long term. We need to act together and encourage our colleagues across all the sectors to work with us. Educating our future clinical colleagues in planetary health concepts and values is key, so that they become embedded in their future practice, as is encouraging our patients by raising awareness of harmful actions and practices. By building more awareness, we help to improve disease prevention. We help to enable and facilitate positive changes in behavior, which will, in turn, reduce our susceptibility to climate-related illnesses and diseases.
Thank you, Dr. Lee, for your and WONCA's inspiring work. Before we move on to the next segment of our event, it is my true honor to introduce a message from Occam Steiner, Administrator of the United Nations Development Program.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends. It is a privilege to join the launch of the Sao Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health. I would like to congratulate the Planetary Health Alliance and all those who have contributed to this declaration. It comes at a pivotal moment. Our planet's ecosystems and biodiversity are facing unprecedented pressures. We are on track to lose more than 1 million plant and animal species, many within decades. Climate change is now widespread, rapid, and intensifying, and human health and well-being are being severely affected. Over 200 health journals from across the globe have joined forces to urge world leaders to address the catastrophic harm to health from climate change, for instance. At this perilous time for our planet, the São Paulo Declaration calls on governments, the private sector, civil society, and the public to commit to the great transition to safeguard a healthy and equitable future for humanity and protect all life on Earth. Firstly, the declaration calls for inclusive, strengthened multilateralism to tackle many crises that our world is facing. And the UN Secretary General has a clear plan to achieve this through our Common Agenda report. At the same time, profound global shifts are taking place. To give just one example, last month, 9 philanthropic organizations have pledged $5 billion over the next 10 years to protect and restore nature as part of the Protecting Our Planet challenge. With a commitment to ensure that 30% of the planet is protected and preserved by the year 2030, this is the largest ever private funding commitment to biodiversity conservation to date. Secondly, the declaration urges all of us to cooperate across disciplines, bringing our comparative advantages together. That will help to build a new development model that recognizes the true value of nature, the foundation we need to radically improve the health of our planet. And thirdly, it calls for a governance system where all countries have an equal say in the great transition, regardless of their income. And this is perhaps the greatest added value of the United Nations. All member states have this equal say, large and small, developed and developing, as they work together to achieve the global goals. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, the São Paulo Declaration comes at a time when we need it most. It is the first time that the planetary health community has come together as one voice to detail the actions we need to take to achieve the great transition. As ever, the entire United Nations family will be on hand to help countries and communities to leverage planetary health approaches in service of a greener and more sustainable future for all. Not only for this generation, but indeed for the many generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Akam, for your and UNDP's support of planetary health. And thank you to all our guest speakers for your inspiring messages. I am now thrilled to play for you a film featuring voices from the Declaration's organization signatories. At this time of our launch event, we now have over 285 organization signatories from 47 countries, representing all 19 stakeholders outlined in the Declaration. I hope you enjoyed this video that was skillfully edited by Laurel Myers.
Hello, I'm Dr. Keith Martin.
I'm Dr. Piyush Kumar from India.
My name is Alexandre Mansour.
Je m'appelle Eva Cosu. I'm Antoinette Vermilia.
I'm Dr. Piyong Tepasan.
My name is Bettina Borges.
My name is Maria Paula Chiesi.
Meu nome é Maria Paula de Albuquerque, do CREN.
I'm Susan Prescott, President of In Vivo Planetary Health.
I am Dr. Georges Benjamin, the Executive Director of the American Public Health Association.
I represent George Mason University.
I am the Research Provost of the University of São Paulo.
I'm with the Alliance of Nurses for Healthy Environments.
From the Institut du Bon Pasteur in Mauritius.
I'm the founder and executive chair of the Environmental Physiotherapy Association.
We signed the São Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health because we agree that we need a fundamental shift in how we live on Earth.
Because we believe it is time to recast the partnership between people and planet.
Because we believe that our future doctors must contribute to the care not only of our human patients, but also our planetary patients as well.
Because we know that the health of people and planet are one.
Because we see climate change as the greatest public health challenge of our time.
Because we believe that climate solutions, which also address human well-being, benefit people and the planet.
Because it's aligned with our vision of a world where more than 9 billion people are all living well and within planetary boundaries.
Because we recognize that the climate crisis is one of the most pressing issues of our generation.
We signed the São Paulo Declaration because there is no business on an unhealthy planet.
Because we recognize the need to develop next generation leaders who promote the health of our planet and human society.
Because we understand that changing our relationship with Earth can no longer be postponed.
Because we believe that the combination
of science education and outreach can give better opportunities and improve the quality of health and social conditions in the world.
Because we know that on an interconnected planet, no one is safe until everyone is safe.
We are currently witnessing imbalances of both ecosystems and human health.
Human health and the health of the planet are indeed inseparable.
Every child born today will be affected by climate change.
It is now or never to move from concept to decisive actions.
Because today's science has never been clearer. We are driving a planetary crisis that in turn is becoming a humanitarian crisis.
Planetary health is essential for the advance of medicine everywhere.
We agree that acting upon the challenges in environmental health demands collaboration across disciplinary and national boundaries.
We're calling for political action to reduce greenhouse gases, to create a sustainable economy where everyone has food on their tables.
We aim to bring together planetary health scholars, science communication experts, and communication researchers.
We aim to increase knowledge on planetary health among the medical community.
We aim to become carbon neutral by 2030.
We plan to expand our work educating about the benefits of organic land care.
We have been working to emphasize the importance of socially and environmentally sustainable development.
We expect to contribute to and support this declaration by launching a series of massive open online courses with Coursera on world religions and ecology.
We will continue to protect nature for people around the world because we agree that the regeneration of the world requires everyone to deeply care for the well-being of the people and places around them.
Because it's urgent to act and act together.
Because we want to safeguard the health of the future children of the Philippines and of the entire world.
Every person in every place, from every calling, has a role to play.
We call for this social movement to happen now.
We expect to actively advocate for state and local policies that are protective of planetary health and address issues of environmental justice.
Our next step is to continue our efforts and to continue sharing our stories.
We want to keep on spreading the concept and the knowledge of planetary health.
We aim to foster a greater Indigenous advocacy and climate change arm in the circumpolar North.
Now we're calling on governments to adopt policies to reverse nature loss in this decade.
We have gathered more than 25 partners to host a conference on climate change and health in the Caribbean.
We intend to continue contributing to the education and training of scholars and practitioners who can affect that change.
Because we know we only have one planet, one Earth, one home, and we must do all we can to save it.
This is why we're asking you to join us in supporting the Sao Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health. Please join us in signing the Sao Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health.
That is why we're asking you to join us in signing the Sao Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health.
Wow. Thank you to all the organizations who participated in that video. It was very inspiring. We look forward to seeing the number of organizational and individual signatories grow now that the declaration is public. We will now hear from 3 of the organizational signatories who are doing fantastic work putting planetary health into practice. Each of these organizations created a brief video to illustrate their work. I would like to introduce Federico Cartin Arteaga from Fundación Rutas Natururbanas in Costa Rica. Federico is an economist and an urban planner. He has worked as a national and international consultant for various cities and organizations. After working internationally for a decade, Federico returned to his home region in Costa Rica and founded Fundación Rutas Natururbanas, Nature Urban Routes, aimed at creating shared use paths and environmentally restoring 25 kilometers of riverbanks in the capital region of San Jose.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be here from this tiny little corner of the world. Ruta Natururbanas, I think what's wonderful about this project is this shared responsibility and the sense of ownership from just ordinary citizens, creating an ecosystem for collaboration among public, private, and grassroots organizations. The good news is that we started with 25 kilometers. We're about to expand the vision of this project, which will be not only a remediation of our nature, but also it's a wonderful injection of optimism, of energy, and improvement for mental health for so many people who have suffered the consequences of not having enough public space or nature in our daily lives. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I encourage everyone to sign the Declaration of Sao Paulo. This is it's a wonderful step forward, and that will require a lot of work for all of us.
To see clearly, this change direction of nature lives in the city. But many of us have no access to public space, to green space. We live and move overcrowded. We have erased and forgotten nature from our urban habitats, and that is precisely what Ruta Naturbanas aims to change. We were born out of collaboration. 7 grassroots organizations joined forces to connect people to the city through nature. As citizen volunteers, we pitched this idea back in 2016 and have been partnering with communities to draw and to reimagine how their communities can be different, can be better, can be more natural, can be healthy. And we set ourselves to dream and reimagine what Costa Rica's capital region should look like. A city region that harnesses the power of its nature, of its rivers, of life, that connects people to the city through nature and weaves together 5 local municipalities, allowing people to be able to walk, bike, and roll through the city. We want to give everyone the opportunity to explore the nature in their city, to recognize the value of the ecosystems that lie behind, to cherish and learn from the biological corridors that crisscross our city. We have also created a native species guide that will help rehabilitate and insert nature back into riverbanks and our city, in collaboration and partnership with private and public sectors, as well as just ordinary people who want to make a change. We have already embarked into a huge reforestation effort across the city. And it is through those very partnerships and collaboration that the very first steps towards our dream begun. We continue to grow. 2 companies have stepped forward to incorporate almost 3.4 kilometers into their developments of Ruta Naturbanas, proving that ordinary citizens can do extraordinary things.
Wow, that's inspiring. Thank you, Federico and Ruta Naturbanas, for your work that exemplifies actions cities and urban planners can take towards achieving the great transition. I would now like to introduce Fatima Ahmed from Zanab for Women in Development, also known as ZWD. Fatima is a founder and director of ZWD. As a thoughtful leader and strong advocate for Sudanese women and girls, Fatima founded Zanab for Women in Development, named after her mother, who was a pioneer educator and worker on promoting girls' rights to education as an opportunity to gain decision-making abilities. Fatima works tirelessly to build Zanab for Women in Development to have a lasting impact. It is truly an honor to have you here, Fatima.
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure and honor to be here today for this important event, Declaration of Planetary Health Alliance. I'm really very delighted to be among all of you and to present about Zainab for Women Development Organization as a grassroots women rights organization working at grassroots level with women and girls to help them really to improve their life. As all of you know that the situation in Sudan, especially these days, we are in transition period after the very great revolution of Sudan, but still everything is not very good. It started Zainab for Women Development in 2000, and it is in special consultative status with ECOSOC. And Zainab is the pioneer woman educator from eastern part of Sudan and been nominated for Nobel Peace Prize among 1,000 peace women in 2005. Our work, I don't know how to go to the another slides. I want to go quickly. This is Zainab vision and mission. And mission is really to promote and empower the socio-economic and political status of women in Sudan. Especially the vulnerable women through multi-dimensional programs that is planned to back women and lobbying and advocating for their rights. Still, unfortunately, in Sudan, we have so many development problems. Still, poverty is too much, and especially during this last 5 or 10 years, it is really deepened poverty, and this is reflects in all aspects of life for the health and the education. This is why we have high literacy rate, especially for girls. Next slides, please. Our program actually include a poverty alleviation program, and especially for rural women and women farmers, because as you may all know that the issue of low production and productivity for small scale farmers, especially the women farmers, and Sudan is an agriculture country, and actually 75% of women of Sudan at rural areas, they are in the traditional agriculture sector, and they've been suffering, especially after this climate change impact, to have very low production and productivity. This is why our programs is to help those women with different inputs so they can increase their food for their food security for their families, and also to have some more income so they can contribute to the education of their for their daughters and boys. Also, we have adult education program for women. Also, our programs include reproductive health to enhance the reproductive health status of women, and we have so many problems in terms of health and reproductive health. We really facing until now, and this is the 21st century, we still have tuberculosis, malaria, definite HIV/AIDS, and the impact of COVID-19. It's really also deepen the problem and which facing in terms of health, in terms of food security for the people of Sudan. Also, we try to help the women for legal aids and the political participation of women and peace building, since we have so many conflicts in Sudan. So these are our area of program. Next slides, please. Our target group is the whole community, but we concentrate on the women and girls. Next slides. These are examples of our poverty alleviation programs, which really include now our network. We started with 200 women farmers. Our network now is more than 5,000 women farmers in rural Sudan across 75 villages. Those are women who are we work with them in different issues, definitely for increasing their production and productivity, nursery, to replant, because as you know, we have a big problem of energy. So those women, there is so many problems of tree cutting, still no gas, no electricity. So they depend on the tree in terms of their energy. So we try to raise the awareness about the environment and planting replanting trees. This is why we established nursery in different villages. We dug wells for water, because still there are many problems of water, and the water quality is very low. This is why also it impacts the health. The agriculture and climate change programs is still going on since 2006, and this year we have still our programs going. We have a program for almost more than 1,000 women this year, supported by different donors, Madri, and the other donor is the African Development Bank, and this is for complete agriculture package, fertilizer, improved seeds, and machinery for mode of agriculture which is not traditional agriculture. So it helps in climate change adaptation, because it's deep plowing and water harvesting. So these are our programs now is going on. Also environment programs for how to save the nature around us, how to lessen the impact of climate change, which is very serious now. Just 2 months, these last 2-3 months, we have so many flood problems, and in very poor communities. Those communities are already live under poverty, and just suddenly they also lost everything because of flood, and because the impact of climate change. Those are pictures from the field, where the women, some of them during the harvest time, and some during the agriculture time, the planting time. Also, our programs include the reproductive health program. We work with the midwives for improving the reproductive health of women, maternal health, child health. Also to fight against bad tradition like female genital mutilation, FGM, children right, because we have child marriage, and all these issues we try to this is a part of the nursery which we established in one of the villages, and the women trained of how to make the seedlings, and we have a very good program for planting trees around the schools, around the mosque, around the villages, and so this can also lessen the impact of the cutting of the trees for the fire. This part of our achievement, like from some of the prizes we got, international prizes, we bought some machineries for the women, and this is really changing and is the lives of thousands of women in rural areas in Sudan. So for the first time, many of those women to have some kind of machineries to help them in increasing their production and productivity to withstand the climate change and to increase their food security for their families. All these programs actually, it is accompanied with adult education program. For girls education, we managed to build many girls' school at rural Sudan with different donors like Japan Embassy in Khartoum and French Embassy. So those are the really challenges and problems which at the end of the day, it impacts the planet around us, and it goes. Zainab won 3 international prize, UNDP Equator Prize during Rio de Janeiro Sustainable Development Council Conference, and we awarded UNFCCC award during COP23, I think in Bonn, and one of the women farmers was there, and also the Islamic Development Bank in Jeddah also awarded us an award. Thank you so much, and hope all together we can do something about our planet and for the people, especially the vulnerable people at the ground who are really suffering and suffering more because of the climate change. I've been nominated as Ambassador of Peace in 2005, and I got the certificate as Ambassador of Peace. Thank you so much, and I'm really grateful to Planetary Health for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Fatima, for your important work, and I'll hand it over to you, Mandy.
Thank you so much, Fatima, and for the work of Zainab for Women in Development. The final group we'd like to introduce is Vias Beatriz Ida Ijatai. This Thais Maud, who is a physician and faculty at University of Sao Paulo Medical School. She's been part of a group of neighbors working for more than 10 years to improve the open and public spaces in the western area of the city of Sao Paulo. These groups have created strong bonds of friendship and solidarity. Welcome, Thais.
Thank you so much for the Planetary Health Alliance to giving us the opportunity to show our work here. We are a group of 3 neighbors, Vila Jataí, Beatriz e Ida, Horta das Corujas e Movimento Boa Praça, that have been working for more than 10 years in São Paulo. We have been performing many practical regenerative actions that fit perfectly well with the planetary health principle in these years. And in the video, you'll see some of these actions that we have been developing. Along these years, we have worked a lot in open air spaces, not only improving our territory, but also improving our health, especially during the pandemic. So working in this open air certainly helped us to keep us mentally and physically fit. Also, these groups have developed very strong bonds of friendship and solidarity. That one feature that is very essential in a mega city like São Paulo, now because it helps us to escape anonymity and solitude. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the video.
O coletivo tem atuado há mais de 10 anos na tentativa de recuperar esses espaços públicos da região. A gente tem nascentes, a gente tem problemas com erosão de solo, a gente tem muita água que corre, a gente tem um rio também. Tem uma metodologia que é de propor piqueniques, encontros, né? Esses encontros são abertos para todos os vizinhos, e nesses piqueniques a gente procura conhecer quem mora no entorno, entender um pouco a geografia do lugar e pensar o que as pessoas gostariam de fazer nesse local e como ele poderia servir melhor quem está no entorno.
Com a intenção de ter uma maior captação dessa água, evitar a erosão da terra para o meio da rua. Para isso, a gente construiu diversos platôs, plantamos diversas mudas e temperos, construímos jardins de chuva para quebrar essa velocidade e aumentar a drenagem do solo.
E nós fizemos uma implantação de 4 canteiros permeáveis. O objetivo é a captação de água maior e a alimentação do lençol freático.
Onde nós temos 2 composteiras, uma delas em estágio de maturação, a outra em estágio de alimentação. Nós temos composteiras espalhadas por todas as praças aqui na região das vilas Beatriz, Ida e Jataí. Essas composteiras, elas cumprem algumas funções. E uma delas é a gente coletar o resíduo orgânico das pessoas, dos vizinhos aqui, dos cidadãos que são voluntários nas composteiras.
Oi, a gente está aqui na Horta das Corujas, que fica na Praça das Corujas, na frente do Córrego das Corujas. Essa é a primeira horta comunitária de São Paulo. A gente vem fazendo um trabalho aqui de recuperação do solo. Muitas nascentes brotaram dentro da horta. E a gente tem uma biodiversidade incrível de plantas.
Conhecer o barro, ver a turma que está fazendo a regeneração e também com um olhar do que a gente tem que aproveitar a cidade, dos espaços públicos, né? Porque em toda essa parte, assim, é para as crianças, é para a gente valorizar o espaço público. Esse monitoramento faz parte de um programa muito bacana que é o Observando os Rios da SS Mata Atlântica. Nós estamos trabalhando há aproximadamente 4 anos, né? Todos os meses a gente faz a coleta e a amostragem das águas.
Todas essas ações e muitas outras foram desenvolvidas por pessoas, vizinhos vivendo em comunidade, cada um com suas habilidades, e entendendo seu papel na realização de uma melhoria dos espaços públicos e de convivência. Tudo isso em busca de uma vida mais sustentável.
Thank you, Thais, and the whole community in Sao Paulo for doing what you do and just creating those community impacts and efforts. And so now we'll move to the close of our event. And I'd like to share with you our official Sao Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health webpage. So we've now launched this webpage to share all of our different initiatives related to the declaration. Here you can see where you can sign the declaration. And you can read the declaration here in English. And we also have, as Antonio mentioned, all the different translations. We also have an area where you can share the declaration on social media, where you can view all the organization and over 500 individual signatories so far, read the Lancet publication, as well as view tens and tens of stakeholder stories of people doing amazing work on the ground related to planetary health. So I would now like to provide some closing comments. During the pandemic, I became an uncle to some beautiful nephews. This is why I do what I do. Planetary Health and the Sao Paulo Declaration gives me hope that there are actions we can take to safeguard the health of my nephews, all people, and all life on Earth. When we decided to do this declaration, we did not want it to be simply another statement. This publication and launch is the first step. The Planetary Health Alliance is dedicated to supporting the signatories and transforming words into action. We are excited to bring together these signatories into our Alliance network and together brainstorm how to implement the vast array of actions laid out throughout the declaration. Think about what can be accomplished by over 285 organizations from 19 stakeholder groups across society if we all work together. I would like to thank, first and foremost, the Declaration organizing team whose names you can find in the acknowledgements of the Lancet letter, the Planetary Health Alliance core team, Sam, Carlos, Marie, Joanna, Michaela, Max, and Ariel, who helped put together this launch event, declaration webpage, and many other aspects of this initiative. My colleague and friend, Antonio Saraiva, who spent countless hours with me on Zoom, sorting through hundreds of recommendations and comments, Mandeep and our colleagues at UNDP for their collaboration throughout this entire initiative and support for the planetary health field and movement. The Lancet and their guidance throughout the entire publication process, and most of all, to the entire global planetary health community who made this declaration possible. Thank you to the audience for attending today's launch event. Please join us in the planetary health movement by signing on to the Sao Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health and joining the Planetary Health Alliance community. Until next time, thank you.